it's quite fine. You don't need any magic for it, providing it produces more disorder around it. It's all. It's a. Yeah.
Are we mixing two things here?
Go on.
You talk about complexity, which is fine. You're talking about entropy.
Yes. I'm oversimplifying.
Yeah, okay, fine.
But what I'm trying to say, yeah, I should be. I don't want to get into too much detail of the terms of thermodynamics. But what, if to put it more simply, when there's a possibility for things to get more messed up, then you can get, providing the whole system is more messed up, there's more entropy. Then you can get the formation of reduced entropy areas, reduced entropy at the same time. Does that kind of make, that sounds a bit better, does it? A bit better.
Well, if you're going to define entropy as ways of distributing energy, then not really.
Okay, I'll just have to deal with the criticism. Now let's have a look at life. If there's the classic thing that Dawkins introduced, and everyone knew I was going to bring this up, is this. Now improbable. Now he says that you can get to something complex like an eye. Creationists say that's hard. You've got to jump up this cliff of complexity in one big step, and that's so unlikely, that's so difficult, that it doesn't make sense. You need some intervention for doing it. But what Dawkins says is you can cart slowly up that slope, and therefore it's feasible because you can go up slowly up that slope. There isn't a problem. Now I looked at that, it doesn't really feel right to me in at least a couple of ways. One, if there was a problem, why are you getting eyes? If there's a real problem, then surely it wouldn't actually happen to the extent that it does. Secondly, what's actually driving things up that slope? I mean, it's all very well to say that evolution is happening, but why is it happening? What's the actual force of it? Now, the way I like to think about it, and this is probably going to be totally wrong, it's just a way of thinking, is if we look at the overall landscape of probabilities. Having been suitably reprimanded, I'm not entirely sure what the answer should be. I'll put probability, but it's not really that. But what actually I like to think of is, supposing the mountain starts to grow, you've got the idea that you're going to have a very slight increase in the complexity of something. What happens sort of at the same time, and I'll come on to this actually a bit more than at the same time as a reason for it, is that only appears in a valley. And if you look at it from the side, the valley is actually deeper than the mountain. It has to be, because life is compatible with all the laws of thermodynamics and everything. You can't have life just appearing sort of magically. It's got to fit in with the laws of physics. So this is the way I like to look at it, is that as the mountain grows, the valley is getting deeper and deeper. So overall, the whole thing is kind of going downhill. If you look at this area here of things that are likely rather than unlikely, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's like connecting back to that business of crystals. The crystals will form, given the right circumstance. Life will appear, given the right circumstance. But even more, it will keep evolving, given the right circumstance. If you've got, say, a life that's got a certain complexity, and it needs to evolve even more complexity, it's sort of metaphorically like the formation of more crystals. Given the right thing and the space, that sort of space of probability, things will tend to happen.
Just echoing from the back of the
Yes, go on.
I like that diagram.
And me.
Oh, thank you.
But I like a moonscape rather than
Yes,
something
absolutely.
with a single minimum.
There's another aspect.
Because
Yes.
you're almost implying by having a single
Yes.
minimum there
Yeah.
that there is some kind of almost an intentionality.
Yes, it's actually,
Whereas-
say, it is exactly like it's like a crater and then craters within craters,
Exactly.
and you don't know which one it's going to end up in. There was a wonderful refutation that P.Z. Myers did of Simon Conway Morris. Simon Conway Morris says certain things in evolution are inevitable. It's all got an intentionality behind it. You end up as, say, like fish shapes. And Simon Conway Morris said, look at fish. Look at dolphins. They're the same shape. And then P.Z. Myers said, look at squid. Which I thought was a brilliant... Because the two things end up in one crater doesn't mean that something doesn't end up in another crater of probability. Sorry.